have the honor to invite a person who directly was planning and participating in anti-terrorist operation. I would like to invite Colonel Valentyn Fedichev, the deputy head of ATO in Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Good afternoon. I am Colonel Fedichev. Let's start work. Today, we will have a not usual press conference. I believe that we together will find the best for all of us format of communication, so that our readers and viewers are happy with the information we provide and not to hamper the military case. And now this is the problem. Let us start. The enemy continues to use the regime of ceasefire to renew military capacity, accumulation of ammunition and materials. The main forces of combatants are concentrated in Donetsk and Gorlivsky directions. At the same time, the enemy does not stop the attempts to assault at our positions in Shirokino and in Mariupolsky direction. Yesterday morning, the positions of ATO forces were shelled at, and in a few hours after, the enemy was trying to assault the positions of Ukrainian servicemen. The attack was repelled. It is worth stating that during the past few days, the intensity and number of shellings got reduced. During the 24 hours, the positions of ATO were shelled at 27 times. Ukrainian servicemen continue to hold defense along the line of separation without replying to the provocations of the enemy. During the last 24 hours, 7 Ukrainian servicemen were killed, 10 were wounded. The enemy continues active air reconnaissance using the drones. During the 24 hours, 12 drones were registered in Mariupolsky and Lugansk directions. Yesterday, at the checkpoint near Izum in Kharkiv region, the militiamen, during the examination of a car, found and confiscated 2 anti-tank grenades RPG-26, 4 grenades, 2 grenade launcher VOG-25, 2 grenades RGD-5, grenade F1, and a lot of cartridges to different types of weapons. The Russian Federation continues the campaign to destabilize and scare Ukrainians. Yesterday, at 1:15 p.m. in Kharkiv, during a peaceful march, which was part of the March of Unity, near the Palace of Sports, there was an explosion of an unidentified object. According to security service, and the result, 2 persons were killed, 1 citizen of Kharkiv and 1 officer of local militia. 11 persons were wounded. According to the members of OSCE, the explosive was TNT and shrapnel and was activated from a distance. According to militia, the explosive was similar to the one which was used in Moskovsky district of court of Kharkiv on the 19th of January. The report of the mission states the observer stated that this incident happened in the first ranks of the column of the march. The acts of terrorism in the result of which the civil population is killed, again certified to the fact that the enemy is trying to expand the zone of their crimes outside of Donbass. In the result of the investigation, the Security Service of Ukraine detained 4 persons which are part of the band Kharkiv partisans, which are suspected in preparation of the act of terrorism. The bandits were also preparing shelling from the Shmel system at the club, the trading center, cafe, and other places where many people get concentrated. The confiscated Shmel system is of Russian manufacture. According to the detained persons, was received by the leader of the bandits in Belgorod. Security Service of Ukraine announced the highest level of anti-terrorist readiness in Kharkiv in relation with the attempts of pro-Russian forces to destabilize the situation in the city. Also, the special services, the servicemen, together with the servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine, stopped activity of information network of the band of DNR, the members of which were collecting information about dislocation of Ukrainian units to transfer this information to artillery of the enemy. You see, I am not the professional in this, so I do not correspond maybe to the standards that you're used to, but I believe that this will change. My standards are out there in the front line. Okay, let's show the video. The information. I was transferring the information and in telephone conversations. I recognized that I was guilty. I was not doing it on purpose. I understand that my coordinates were used by Russian terrorist troops to shell at the ATO forces and at peaceful citizens. Ukraine is helping the citizens of pre-front municipalities. Ukrainian law enforcement servicemen, together with volunteers, transported the food products to Svetlodarsk, the canned food, butter, sugar, and other food products. No photograph. People who are today without all the necessary things were given the food products and special points where the militiamen were protecting the public order. In the settlements near the line of separation, the electric, gas, and water supply systems are broken. For many people, the humanitarian assistance is the only way to survive. And now it is about the work of I will tell you about the work of our women at the front line. Oksana Titska, the medical nurse with 2 higher educations, which is serving in one of the military hospitals, which is now at the front line. For the first time, she worked in Mariupolsky direction, and now it's her second trip to the zone of ATO. All our doctors are doing all they can to preserve lives and save our servicemen who are wounded, says Oksana. I cannot stay at home when the war is going on for the integrity of our state. We need to preserve the country for the next generations. This is the position of this courageous woman. For her courage, the commander submitted the documents to award Oksana by the order of Princess Olga. Another batch of humanitarian assistance for Ukrainian servicemen arrived from abroad. In Rava-Ruska, on the border with Poland, the humanitarian assistance from Netherlands was registered, and these are different clothes. The total weight of this is almost 5.7 tons. The world is supporting Ukraine in its fight with aggressor. During the visit to Kiev, European leaders expressed their support to Ukraine. The President of European Council, Donald Tusk, stated that today the Council of EU starts consultations about the further pressure on Russia. The President of Poland, Bronisław Komorowski, stated that Poland is supporting the idea of President Poroshenko about the participation of peacekeeping forces of UN to settle the conflict in Donbass. This is the official information. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Dear colleagues, please do not forget introduce yourself before making questions. Olenek, could you please explain in more detail? There was an information from the enemies that the heavy artillery equipment will be withdrawn by tomorrow or tomorrow. Could you elaborate more on this issue? Withdrawal of Ukrainian heavy weapon will be carried out in line with the approved schedule. The schedule should be approved by the General Staff under the precondition of operative necessity. If the enemies will continue to use their own heavy weapon, it's clear that Ukrainian heavy weapon will continue to counteract to all these operations of the enemies. Oleg Polivanov, Vremya Information Agency. It is clear that we have withdrawn our troops from Debaltseva. The nearest cities, Svetlodarsk, Luhansk, are they on the Ukrainian side or they empty or whatever? Svetlodar and Luhansk are the most important towns of the Beria Bridge, and there are the delineation line is along the river water reservoir, and these two towns, settlements are under Ukrainian control. What weapon is used by the militants in places where there are shellings? The militants use they use that weapon which they conquered in Crimea. They use weapon from the Russian arsenals and the up-to-date, most modern equipment produced by Russian Federation, but the list of that weapons could be rather long. Is it heavy artillery or what it is? So the list could be as follows. Small arms, first of all. Artillery, which could be transported, self-propelled artillery, tanks, armored objects, and including aviation. Also, special weapon to different types of troops, like communication troops and reconnaissance equipment. Yesterday, the ATO status and ATO alarm was announced in Kharkiv. What will it mean for Kharkiv? Actually, this is a continuation of our it was an attempt of terrorist organizations to establish the so-called Novorossiya. For Novorossiya, they have chosen several oblasts of Ukraine, and Kharkivsk Oblast in one of those chosen oblasts. Then the other intention of the terrorists was to show that in the rear there are so-called partisan teams which can make harm to our those teams which provide supplies to our troops. This was an attempt to bully, first of all, the Kharkiv residents, and second, to terrify our servicemen at the front line. Would you please specify in more detail the general length of that delineation line from which it is planned to withdraw heavy weapon, and the more exact figures of those who were killed near Debaltseve? There were figures which fluctuated between 13, 17 people up to 130. Okay, you know that in line with the Minsk agreements, heavy weapons should be withdrawn at a distance which will make impossible to reach the opponent, and the withdrawal is determined by the length of or radius of the between 6-8 kilometers for mortars, or much bigger distances for LRS systems like Smerch. For example, Smerch could reach targets within 120 kilometers, and that is, Smerch should be withdrawn by 120 kilometers. For each type of weapon, the distance should be different. It's not occasional that one of the requirements to the groups to monitor the process is to observe and monitor the places and points where all that heavy weapon will be parked and stored. We know the exact numbers and approximate locations of the heavy weapons of our opponents. Our opponents know the same about us, and it will be rather easy to control this. If Tochka U system can reach our territory from a distance of 120 kilometers, this means that it should be withdrawn from the delineation line by 120 kilometers and keep under control all that 6, 4, or whatever number of these systems in the region. Now about our losses. Probably you have paid attention that part of people are not determined as killed or as withdrawn from the conflict area. They, we do not know their destiny. They are missing, and that's why when we have definite information that people are either killed or they are taken in captivity, we inform you. So at the beginning, we heard that there were 13 killed people. Then we got information about 17 people. Then this figure reached 22 people. And as soon as we get new information, we will immediately inform you. But if you hear that 13 people are killed, but we are missing 47 people or do not know where they are, then the final figure won't be bigger than total amount of that both figure. And please pay attention that you inform you about figures which are known as of the moment when we provide information. Probably out of that people whom we are missing at this very moment, part of them are in captivity, and probably part of them are in hospitals, and later on, some people who are wounded today and are alive, they do not survive, and later on they will fill in the list of